Hey guys, so I'm going to talk to you a little bit about some of the information and energy that I received from one of my guides who is a seventh dimensional Pleiadian. Initially, when he first started coming through to me, it was just in meditation. He would come through and sometimes channel the meditation a little bit, and I could feel the change in frequency when he was around. It was probably about a year ago that he first started coming through. He's obviously always been there as part of my soul team, but needed to wait until I was in a place where I could sufficiently hold that frequency, for it to not wear out my energy too much when that happened. So when he started coming through, the first few times I could kind of feel this big shift within myself as I kind of moved my own consciousness aside for him to come through. And it wasn't fully trance channeling, I was still there, so to speak. And he came up with all sorts of insights, particularly that we are now moving into the fifth dimension, but that within, he gave me sort of between 500 and 1,000 years, we would move through the sixth and into the seventh, but that to those who that sounds like an awful long time, once we've moved into fifth and are kind of on the brink of sixth as well, time will pass so much faster and lives will be longer anyway, so that period of time will feel significantly shorter and will take fewer generations, because the lifespans will be longer in order to experience that place. So it could be within the memory of your great-grandchildren rather than, many more kind of lineages down. Then at the start of this year, he actually came through completely and kind of took over my consciousness with my permission, so that I was semi-trance channeling. I was still learning to hold that frequency because it's a massive alteration in energy. And the first couple of times I was still kind of aware of my own consciousness and that might be coming through a little bit too. But as that practice has gone on, he moves in more easily and I'm able to move out of the way. So it's quite an interesting process for me to learn how to adapt to that. And I think it's something that anyone is able to do. It's just a case of lifting your frequency so that you can support that being, because they're not going to come through into you if you're going to be too worn out by that, or if it's going to drain you, or you've got too much density, because it's not going to be healthful for you to do that. So you may find that as you are on your journey, perhaps you've just started out, maybe you're a long way through and you've already kind of learnt to experience that a little bit, but I think it's something that everyone can begin to tune into once they get there. And being able to meld with those higher frequencies as well helps to bring in that abundance and synchronicity and manifestation, as those things are easier to create. So my guide has shown me that in the seventh dimension you can manifest something instantly, so you can see light and make it into form, and that you can be in one place and move instantly to another, that you can shift your density from being in a physical body to a light body, which is different to being in the higher dimensions, when beings are in the sort of 9th, 10th, 11th and 12th, I think predominantly they're in light body all the time, but in the 7th there's still a little more density there, so those shifts can occur. So some of the time they're in light body, some of the time they're in a more physical form, as I think there's maybe more variation in the frequency in that dimension than when you get into the kind of really high ones. So it's quite interesting connecting with this guide, because he's maybe got more of a connection to a human experience, a physical experience, than maybe the kind of higher beings have, although their knowledge is also sort of removed from the emotional intensity that we have in the sort of seventh and down. My guide also talks about other beings that we have had who have previously incarnated on earth who are highly spiritual, such as Jesus, Buddha, some of the various gods. He talks about Horus quite a lot as well, as beings that were, a lot of them from seventh and able to move into human bodies. So like the Egyptian gods coming here, they could move into our frequency, which is why they were able to come to this planet without kind of getting permanently stuck in human density, in human form. And he also talks about Jesus, that like as a consciousness, as that Christ consciousness, as a being who was here, who was just able to tap into those higher frequencies. And because he was able to do that, he came from a space of love more of the time. Was here to kind of spread some of that resonance, but also, so it lifted the consciousness a little bit around that time, but there was still a long way to go. And hopefully we're getting to that point now, as we're now moving into this shift into fifth, which tells me that the consciousness and the frequency is raising a lot in order for that to happen. So my perspective is, from my other guides and from this one, that a lot of the time the experiences of these spiritual figures or beings is of an interconnected consciousness. So beings that are able to still stay very much in touch with their kind of soul essence and their soul team, but be here and provide guidance and provide frequency lifts for those who needed it at the time or do still need it now. So that's a little bit about Pleiades and the seventh. There's a lot more that he's come through and said, so I do sometimes post. I have done things in the past about this guidance, and I will continue to do so, but that's just what's coming through to me today. And the meditation that I created a couple of days ago is to connect with that seventh dimensional frequency, so that you can start to just have a kind of taste of what that shift is like. And as you experience it just in the short term, you may not be able to hold it all the time. You probably wouldn't be in a physical body if you could, but it's about being able to learn how to kind of shift your frequency a little bit, so that you can begin to lift and be in a place of more manifestation, more abundance and more joy. So I hope you enjoy that, and thanks for listening.